So this is going to be like a short session. I'm going to walk you through instructions on how to choose and how to create KPI and what is a KPI. So basically, as you can see, this is a Power BI report. Now, the very first thing that we need to go with when we try to work with any Power BI report or a dashboard, the very first thing we need to go over the data, right? So the data set is the most important thing. So I'm just trying to show you the dashboard, and then I'll flip to actually what I'm trying to show you. So here I tried to make it sections. So we're going to start with the first thing. So our presentation on key performance indicators, or the KPIs. In today's session, we'll be explore what KPIs are and why they are crucial, and how to select and create them using Power BI. Okay. Now, KPIs are essential metrics that helps organization measures their performance and progress towards their goals. That's the very first thing, because I'm trying to prepare you for understanding these terms and how to answer them in any interview question. Now, in the second topic right here, or the second section, is understanding your data source. This is the most important thing that all of us, we need to perform in order to understand our data. So understanding the data sources, that's the most important thing. So to get started, we can briefly introduce the data sources we'll be working with. Now, with any data source that you might have or you need to interact with, you need to be familiar with it. So in the example that I'm going to show you, we have several tables, including accounts, fact A, fact B, opportunity, partners table. All these are tables, or you can consider them as a data set, or product and sales stage. Now, these tables contain valuable information that we will use to create meaningful KPIs for our organization. So the very first thing you need to do is you need to familiarize yourself with the data. So as you can see right here, we have a lot of tables, right? So basically we have the accountant, we have fact A, opportunity, partners, product, sales stage, and you need to look at every single table. So right here, I know this is nothing but info about or values about accounts. Here, this is fact table, and we know, I mean, if you've been in IPBC, you've definitely been introduced to the data warehousing, so you know what fact and dimension table is, or are. Now, the fact table is containing the numerical values, the most aggregated values from different tables. So, the accounts here, the fact, the account, the opportunity, the partners, the product, the sales stage, these are, you can consider them as the main sources to create the fact and the dimension tables, right? So in the fact table, there's a lot of measures. So right here, you will see, like, after being familiarized yourself with the data, now you can decide how to model it, right? Because modeling the data is also one of the most important. But before that, you have to familiar yourself with the data. You have to look at the data. Now, I don't know what your data source is. Could be an Excel, could be a CSV, could be an OLEDB, like a SQL, right? Like a SQL server. So if it's in SQL, then you're so lucky, because you can run a lot of query, to look at the data and see, what it's the data is all about, right? Right after that, so this is the data that we have, okay? Now, right after that, we need to understand, like, what are KPIs, right? So by defining the KPIs, the key performance indicators, this is the shortcut for it, is the KPIs, are measurable values that indicates how well an organization is achieving its objectives, right? Now, they offer insight into the organization performance, help in decision making, and provide a clear picture of where improvements are needed. So basically, now, if we just go back a little bit and look at the fact table, or the fact A, you will see that, for example, here we have an account ID, we have a partner ID, we have product ID, and all these IDs, these are going to be, important and imported from the sources tables, right? Like, this is the account, and we have an account ID. This is the opportunity, we have opportunity ID, partner ID, product ID, right? Sales stage ID, and so on. So these are the most important keys or IDs that we can use it to build our fact table. So assuming you are, using star schema, right? So again, we need to understand the data uh, and provide, from the very beginning, we need to know what IDs that we are going to use in order to connect all these tables together. So by understanding the most important thing, which is what are the KPIs. So the KPIs, again, are measurable values that indicates how well an organization is achieving its objectives. Now, they offer insight into the organization performance and help in decision making. So these are the KPIs nature. Okay. Now, why we choose a KPI? Now, why should we choose a KPI in our business? The KPIs are critical because they provide actionable data, helping us to track performance, make informed decisions, and ultimately drive success. Now, they can identify areas that need attention and resources. Now, I don't want you really to just keep working on a data and you're not thinking about the business side, because you as a reporter or as a Power BI developer, which is providing reports, you need to understand what is happening on the business or what is the most important thing that the business is looking. Now, if it's like a sales company, like, everything about sales, then you need to look for data that's, looking for sales, right? And what helps that. So why we choose KPIs, again, I need you to read it with me. And it says KPIs are critical because they provide actionable data or actionable data, right? So based on the data that you will provide, all the filtration that your KPIs will provide, it will help the company or the business to track performance. So this is what all the reporting is all about. You are kind of data engineer because you need to work with the data, you need to clean up the data, but at the end of the day, you need to provide an accurate data to the decision makers, right? So by providing this kind of data, you will help the business to track the performance, make informed decisions, and ultimately drive success, because this is the aim of each company. They want to be successful. How? By having a very good reports, helping them in all these factors. Now, also, they can identify areas that need attention and resources. So if we go over the map of the United States, again, this is, let's say this is a Walmart. So they need to have, factors from all the states. They have 50 states. So they need to see what is the performance in every single state. Now, based on the data that you provide in your report, they will be able to specify what state or what city, what neighborhood is performing well and what else not performing well. So now they can go back to this area that need attention, and work on it. So that is your job. So your job is not just like a robot. You need to go and look for the data. No, you need, as a reporter, to understand how the business works. Okay. And that's one of the things that you will knock down any interview when you talk about any business. And you need to do your homework, just study a little bit about the business side. And then you need to find out data that's very similar to that position that you're applying for. And you need to let them know that what are the things that, you can be a valuable asset for, right? So that's why we choose a KPI. Again, it's all about business side. You need to understand the nature of the business. Now, once you do that, then after that, we will jump to the type of the KPIs, right? Now, so the type of the KPIs, now we can talk about the various type of KPIs you might consider for your business. Now, there's financial KPIs, include metrics like revenue, profit, cost efficiency, correct? And operational KPIs that can measure efficiency, productivity, and resources utilization. Okay. So these are the type of the KPIs that you need to decide Like what are you looking for? What is this report? What is the end result of this report? What this report is going to serve? Because again, you're going to provide reports for different departments. So based on that, you need to understand what is the end result of that KPI. So in my work, what I do, I always go with the end user. I need to understand the end user, what their need, because they are not technical. They don't know how to create these reports. They, depend on me to create that. But without me understanding their, their object, what they are really looking for, I'm not going to be able to deliver a very nice report. I'm not talking about, the style of your report, the color of your report. No, those things are decorations. I'm talking about how you understand the business to create the most important report. Because if you have the nicest report in the world, but the data is not accurate, it's worthless. But if you have an accurate data, they don't care if you have a very nice report or not. I mean, those things are decoration. If you want to create a heat map based on performance, based on sales, based on whatever the case is, that is decoration. But the first thing we need to worry about is to provide an accurate data. And that comes when you really need to follow these instructions. What is the business needs? Why I'm creating these KPIs? What type of KPIs that I'm creating? Once you have the knowledge and the understanding, the DAX and how to write these, or to create these measures, that's the very last thing you need to worry about. I don't care about, getting the logic. What I worried about is what I want, because once you understand what do you want, then finding the code or the DAX for it is the most easiest part. Believe me, I don't want you to keep focusing on memorizing how to write this measure, because you can Google it, you can find it in 2 seconds. But if you don't know what you're looking for, that is the challenge. Like what I'm trying to achieve, that's a challenge. Okay. All right. So on section number 6 right here, setting objectives. Okay, this is the one. Let me just put it down a little bit. Okay. All right. So setting objectives. Now, before choosing KPIs, it's crucial to set clear objectives. Now, objectives should be SMART, which means specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Now, using your data, you will demonstrate how objectives can align with these KPIs. Now, I'm going to show you the data, and my Lucid chart is freezing. That is not a good time for it. Let's wait.
So you said that we need to understand our data. So
Right.
how do we proceed that, especially when we're at the workplace? Do we ask questions? Do we just keep reading about it? How do we go about it?
That's a $1 million question. Yes, you will be asking a question, but there's a lot of things that's very obvious. Like if you are working in an insurance company, what is the most important for insurance? It's all about getting the premiums, right? Like collecting the premium from them. And also there will be a lot of departments. Now, you're not going to be assigned to the whole company providing report for the whole company, but you will be working with teams. So for example, if you are working with one line in that company, so let's have an example. If you're working only with marketing people, right? Like your report will be delivered to marketing people in that company. What is the marketing objectives? What is the most important things to the marketing? So you need to understand them as a business. I'm not asking you to ask them about technical questions. No, understand the business. Let them show you where the data is, where the data comes from, because you need to understand the flow of the data as well. And once you have these questions answered, now you are building a very nice idea. Now you have a game plan of what you are going to do. So when you have a requirement from them, it will make sense to you. But if you are going to work blindly on the data, you're just gonna follow or try to fulfill the requirement, then basically you're not a very good, you're not adding value to the company or to these reports, because you can look at the data and you can suggest things that probably they miss it. So yes, by asking question on the business side, Okay, does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's a good question. Now, by looking at the data that I just showed you before here, for the data preparation in Power BI, like once we have all these questions answered, now it's our time to prepare the data, right? Now, let's discuss the data preparation in Power BI, which is crucial for the KPI creation, because without having a very nice model on the Power BI model, you're not going to be able to create these KPIs, because now you have no idea how these tables are related to each other, especially if you have a very big data set. So we will talk about the process of loading the data from our various sources and transforming it for analysis. Now I'm going to skip this because I already have the data, but what about the data sources? If it's a CSV, if it's an Excel, if it's an XML, if it's an API, like you just querying data from the web, if you have it in the cloud, like in Azure, if you have it in SQL Server, I don't care about that source. Once you have the data linked to your Power BI, now it is your time, it is your term, it is your responsibility to model the data to serve the report that you're going to create. So, for example, the data that we have right here, I created a star schema for it. And I have many tables. So just by looking at the data, and this is part of familiarize yourself with the data, just by looking at the data, I can decide that in my fact table, actually, the sales stage ID that I created comes from this table. The account ID, which is this one right here, comes from the account table, right? Or the account ID right here. You can just move it. The product ID, the partner ID, and then I need the data itself, like the aggregate data, correct? That's what I need, like the product revenue, the factor per product revenue, the created day, the opportunity days, you see? And all these fields, you can get it from the tables themselves. Now, once you have that model, by understanding the data, again, it's all about understanding the concept. Once you know what do you want, again, finding the logic of creating these DAXs is the most easiest part. But what do you want to do? This is the challenging part. So again, you need to model your data by looking, spend the time, look at your data. Have two screens, just look at the data, just like what I'm doing right here. And this is before I jump to Power BI. I am not in Power BI. In fact, I'm not going to show you the Power BI because that's the easiest part. If I can figure it out right here, and by the way, could be in your, you can build it in your Word, you can actually handwrite it, whatever you feel okay to make yourself understand the data nature. Okay, I'm done with it. So once I have my module, now everything is cool, because now just by looking at the data, I can start working on my first KPI. So for example, right here, I can get total sales revenue from my fact table. There we go, which is my product revenue. So the objective here, I decide what is the objective, or most of these will be requirements. So the objective here is to measure the total sales revenue for a specific period, right? Okay, so what is the DAX calculation? This is the most easiest part, because believe me, you can even use DAX code, right? Or Visual Studio Code. They will suggest these to you. So I am not worried about writing the KPI itself. What I'm worried about, what is the challenging part, is what type of KPIs that I want to create. What is the KPI that I want to create? Now, most of these, again, measurable things will be in form of requirement. But if you want to work it yourself, this is the way. And by the way, if you master these steps, there is no fear on you. You can work in any type of data, because now you do have, let's say, the flow chart, like you know what to do. Now, again, here there's another KPI, right? Which is average sales revenue per opportunity. And there we go. This is the DEX. Will be very easy to find the DEX. But understanding what is the objective. I want to measure the average sales revenue generated per opportunity. Once I have these KPIs in my Power BI, then I can just plug and play in my visuals. I don't care what visuals that I'm going to use. I already have the aggregated data. That is the most important thing. Again, decorating the visuals is nothing without an aggregated or an accurate aggregated data. So once you have your KPIs, boom, that's what you want. So you can just plug and play. And again, finding the DAX, I know I'm confusing you, right? Because the DAX is the most, challenging thing. No, it is challenging because you don't know what to create. But by looking at the data, understanding what you want, what is the requirement, what is this report is all about, then it will be easier for you to find the logic. The logic I'm talking about, the script. That is the most easiest part. Okay, and you don't have to memorize it. Just type what do you want. Like, for example, go to Google, how to measure the average blah 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 per whatever. It will give you a lot of examples, and now you can just plug and play, copy and paste, and put your fields into it. All right, and here I have a list of measures, right? So, here I'm creating another measure, like KPI number 4, the largest opportunity size. Again, this is to identify the size of the largest opportunity. This is called a KPI. And just by looking at this data, I can get about 10 or 12 KPIs altogether. So please do not underestimate your data sets. Sometimes I just hear from people that my data set is not good enough for my project. No, just look at this. This is very simple data set. And I'm going to show you how many KPIs you can create. Look at this KPI. Actually, this is combining 2 tables, fact and fact A. And here I'm trying to measure the rate at which opportunity are converted into sales, right? So how by looking at the data and connecting these fields together. I don't care if they are located in different tables, because in the module you're already going to you're going to connect or joining your tables. But here, finding the objective, right? And then here, so I'm getting the divide count rows from fact and the count rows fact here from fact A. And you have to provide the third attribute. Okay. So again, this is the most easiest part, but finding what I want is the challenging part, like this, to measure the rate which is opportunities are converted into sales. Again, most of these, you do not have to come up with it. It will be in form of requirement, because again, you're not going to just create a lot of KPIs in the real world, but I'm talking about for your own study purposes. This is how you need to think. I need you to think from the other side. Don't think you as just somebody who know how to code or somebody who familiar with Power BI. No, be familiar with the business, because once you have that opportunity, once you consider yourself part of this game, then you can come up with all these kind of KPIs, and it will be fantastic for the company, because I can tell you, most of them, they don't even know what they want. But when you have 2 things, the business side and the technical side, you will be the superhero. Okay. Now let me show you how many KPIs we can create. Look at these. Creating the KPIs in Power BI. Now this is where the magic happened. Yeah, what have I just showed you? Demonstrating how to create a Power BI by using our data, through some steps, including to use it in visuals. Again, the visuals is, I don't care about the visuals, because the visual is just to how you are going to look at the data. Do you want it to be a bar chart, pie chart, map, whatever? But the data is the most important thing. And then the DAX calculation. So here I can show you, look how many KPIs I can create from that, just by asking these kind of questions. I have 10 KPIs. And by the way, I can do more. So again, total sales revenue right here. I have the objective, and this is the DAX, the average sales, the sales conversion rates, right? Largest opportunity, partner-driven opportunities, and there we go. This is to measure the numbers of opportunities that are partner-driven. Okay, look at that. That's nice. So finding these objectives is crucial. Now, monthly sales trend, and there we go. This is the sales. I can Google this, and I can find it super easy. But what I want, like here, this is again the challenging part. And the win rate, okay, to measure the percentage of opportunities that result in a win Look at that. That is a very nice KPI. Okay. And also sales revenue by region, because here what I'm doing again, we're getting the values from, you know, from different tables, right? So from fact A, and then fact, and that's just because I created a fact table. So do you see, working on these type of things, how important it is when you try to create your star schema, to model the data into a star schema, meaning creating a fact table? Look at your fact table now. Now your fact table is playing a very nice role creating your KPIs, right? Sales revenue by region, and there we go. So I have one from the accounts, and the other one is just the total sales revenue that I created previously. Total sales revenue by I believe we created right here. Total sales revenue. I believe it was the first one, right? Total sales revenue. Now I can use this KPI in my other KPI. And the list is on and on, right? I have sales pipeline value, I have product. You can create more and more. And then you can have your decks. So these are just few examples of KPIs that I can be creating using the provided data set. You can adjust these KPIs and DAX's calculation based on your specific business objectives, right? Because they should have their own objectives and reporting needs. Additionally, you can create visualization Power BI to effectively communicate and monitor these KPIs over time. Now, once you have all that, because again, I'm telling you, this is just an overview. I need you just to understand one angle of Power BI. Now, for the KPI dashboard, to visualize our KPIs, you know, showcase sample KPI dashboard created in Power BI. This dashboard provides a real-time snapshot of performance. You know, I'm going to show, I already showed it to you, but I'm going to do it one more time. And then monitoring and iterating, which is the KPI is not static. They required ongoing monitoring and iteration. That's correct, because sometimes you need to adjust these KPIs in order to serve the report. So emphasize the need of regular reviews to ensure that KPIs remain aligned with the business objective. There we go. This is what I'm talking about. We'll also demonstrate how Power BI can help tracking and analyzing KPIs over time. Now, the conclusion KPIs are, look at that. This is a very nice for business, and selecting and creating them with Power BI can be revolutionized decision making. There we go. That's what they really all about, decision making. The data, the KPIs will make them able to do that. So we encourage you to start implementing KPIs in your organization, or I don't know if you're working on your project, or you can just bring any data set and train yourself on how to do that. And by the way, with the help of AI nowadays, man, they can give you a lot, just providing some samples of your data. And they, you know, ChatGPT or Bard or whatever, or even the Bing chart from Microsoft, just put the sample of your data from all your tables, and they will provide you with a lot of KPIs that you have no idea, and you can just keep talking to it. So nowadays, finding and implementing the KPIs is the most important and sometimes the easiest part, because again, work smart with these tables, but the very first thing, you need to model your data. So modeling the data, let me show you here. Again, it is very, very important. So when you go here and you create your own fact table like this is very important, because this fact table will play a very, very nice role. Once you do that between all your, because the fact table, fact one or fact B, fact A, and the fact table, this is something that has not been there. The only data that I usually have is the account, opportunities, sales, product, and partners. You need to create that fact table. And once you have that fact table, boom, now we can create a lot of KPIs, because now it's much easier. Okay. This is, you know, this is the dashboard, and you can create many dashboards, and you can use all your KPIs in your visual. This is the opportunity revenue, right? This is the opportunity count. This is all comes from your KPIs. There we go. Opportunity count. This is something that we create. So again, here there's KPIs that I didn't even mention there, because I already, you know, on that presentation, I created more and more. And you can drill through, you can drill down, you can go to details, look at different angle of the report, the opportunity size, the region, the partners, and look at this matrix. It's awesome. And it's moving. So all these nice dashboard, which is very simple one here, it comes by working on the data side first. The data side is the most important thing to create any dashboard, because again, creating a very fancy dashboard is not much important as managing your data. Okay. All right. Awesome. Well, we are right on time. It's 8:05. My goal was to finish it with 30 minutes, and there we are. So if you ask me about this software, this is called Lucid app. So you can actually create a very nice flow here. Yeah, somebody have a question?
How do we prepare a dimension and fact from a single table that we could obtain from our websites?
From single table, you want to create a fact and dimension tables?
Yes, sir.
I mean, unless that table has 30, field, and most of these fields are IDs in order to create a fact table, because a fact table, just like this, it is going to take a lot of IDs or surrogate keys if it's a data warehouse from different tables in order to connect them together, and then you can aggregate the data from these tables. But from one table, you want to create fact table and dimension tables, we need to look at that table. So, and I'm not saying it's not possible, but it will be challenging, because the idea of fact and dimension tables, fact will be, for the star schema, you can combine all these tables together in one table by grabbing their IDs. So now here I can, just by using my fact table, I can query like if it's in SQL to look at any data from any table, because I have its ID in my fact table. Like here, product ID, I have a product ID here. So I can look at the account ID number 72, where the product ID is equal to 1. So I can grab the data from this table and from that table. So that's the idea of the fact and dimension. I don't know what you have in that table. Maybe there is like 100 fields, or maybe there's 50, 30 fields. Maybe you can create a fact table, but it will be a little bit challenging. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you in future sessions. You guys have a good night. Thanks.